Hello, good morning. Can you hear my voice? Okay, so I already asked you to look at one introduction video about Star Trek VR video on the YouTube, so that I think this will be quite interesting for all of you to look at this video as some interesting way. But I don't know, did you watch this video? About 3-minute video. Maybe just quickly show this video.
Captain's log, stardate 2016.165. Starship USS Aegis is preparing for her maiden voyage. We've gathered some of the most decorated officers in the Federation to test her limits and to prove her place among Starfleet's finest ships. We're en route to a secret testing facility and are proceeding to our destination at maximum warp. This is amazing!
Wow! Absolutely astonishing.
When I walked in, I really wasn't sure what I was actually walking into.
This is very cool.
If I could have imagined what I would have wanted the Star Trek VR game to be, this is it! This is what we've been waiting for.
Holy crap, this is amazing.
I mean, it really is breathtaking. That was an extraordinary experience to be fully encompassed in a world.
Whoa, not into that. You're interacting with each other and you're talking to each other and you're taking orders from the captain and I mean, it's really cool.
So there's captain, helm, piloting the ship, tactical, and the engineer routing power and charging warp coils.
I'm feeling pressure already. I'm feeling nervous now.
All right, shields up. Prepare warp. Take us out.
Yes, Captain.
Co-op gameplay is not new. I mean, you know, we can play games with our friends, but there's something different about being in a shared virtual environment.
Hearing who you're playing with, you can look over and see the person and see them doing their job and talk to them.
The team does not succeed unless everybody does their job well.
Ship decloaking, activating shields.
Okay, shields up.
Shields up. I really did not want to lower the shields while we were under attack. I was very impressed by LeVar playing that game today. He really had the language of Star Trek down.
And they are transporting, Captain.
It was like, yes, it just makes you push the buttons.
I will say I nailed being the engineer.
That doesn't sound good.
It's a Klingon. Red alert.
Preparing to warp.
We're under attack. We have been waiting in anticipation for so long for the technology of virtual reality to catch up with where we imagine we should be and where we all want to go. Line us up for warp, please.
We have full power.
Ensign, as soon as you can get us the hell out of here, I'd be most grateful.
This was really incredible.
Hull is down to 20%. Come on, y'all.
Punch it.
As soon as you can. Here we go.
Woohoo!
It's your own Star Trek experience in a virtual world where you can hang out with whoever you want. And that's a pretty good deal.
Okay, so this is give you some introduction for today's lecture. I think it's a evolution. While in our previous lecture we mentioned about this kind of micro sensor for smart X, smartphone, smart car, smart home, smart building, and so that when we continue to integrate this kind of a sensor and also man's actuator and AI with all this kind of the 3D this kind of display, right, in this kind of VR, AR, MR, or even Metaverse, and then we're going to create this kind of virtual world, right? And in this case, be very important for I think this coming new future. So that I do think, especially if you look at Facebook CEO and founder, describe why he changed the name from Facebook to Meta, so that he thinks this will has a big future and make big money. So that is something I can see is quite important at this moment. I do think it would be worthwhile for all of you to think about the future, how this can be very, very useful, right, for the future, and for I think for smart home, smart building, these all are, or maybe smart this kind of school, smart school, doing that. So that smart this thing, then I do think it would be quite important. Why? Of course, here I list a series of this thing. All VR, AR, MR, Metaverse has a lot of this kind of low cost micro sensor and also actuator, AI, everything. So I put together, right, to build this thing. So that so I will show you about this thing, so that you may want to look at this kind of thing for more details. So of course, this particular one also quite amazing. But of course, I know if now I do this kind of online streaming sometime, but it's quite interesting for all of you to look into this kind of a VR game, right? So I don't know if you have ever tried to play with VR. I want to know. Did you try to use any VR, AR, or this kind of MR headset? Any of you have played this kind of VR, AR? So it is oh, at least if you've never seen them, I have this one, the one in this video, so that if you want to try, maybe borrow from me, so that now we gradually try to I think at least Hong Kong now COVID-19 is becoming saturated right now. I think it's something we can now. If you have no way to do at least you try to look at this kind of thing, and then okay, let me show here. So this is the one in the video, right? I just show you in the YouTube, so that doing that. So this is a Facebook Oculus Quest, right? So that this is something the one used in this video. So that of course in this thing you can really play a lot of very interesting this kind of video game, and also app, and also that YouTube VR channel. I would say that's quite amazing. Okay, so that if you never tried, I do recommend you had better try. If you have never tried, you can borrow my Facebook, this kind of Oculus, this kind of a Quest to give a try. If you have never, I think it's never used this kind of thing. Okay, it's quite amazing. And of course, they also have an important for what? Education. For example, this kind of VR, the free app, so that there's a NASA has this kind of free virtual reality app to look at the International Space Station. Oh, that's quite amazing. It's free, and then you probably 99% of you can never go to the space, but with this kind of VR headset, so that you can try to go inside the virtual space station and then try to experience about operation. So it's quite important, useful for this kind of education, right? So that for engineer, of course, with this kind of VR, I think in the near future, we can think about how engineer using VR, AR, MR for design many product. Why? Design the building, design the car, and design many product with this kind of VR, AR, MR. So that's something I will show you about this kind of a civil company, Nvidia Why? The several company really create a platform to design this kind of real product in the virtual, this kind of VR, AR, MR system. So this is something I do think this is this has a huge impact in not only in this kind of building engineering, in the video game, right? I do think many of you have ever played some video games, so that for sure this kind of VR, AR, MR has a very big business in this video game, professional video game. That's something, it's a huge business, right? So that of course I also show you this kind of thing. VR, AR can create some virtual land. Remember sandbox? People try to create some virtual building, virtual house, and can make money. So that this something is real. I still remember. Have you ever tried to look at sandbox, virtual land? Why people want to buy virtual land for I don't know, $4 million US. I also wonder why people want, why do we need to buy this kind of virtual land, virtual building, virtual land? That's something I would say quite important for you to think about. Virtual land and virtual building. What's the reason? Why people will? I told you why. Sandbox. They have a virtual land, and so someone for some reason tried to use for more than $4 million US to buy the virtual land. What's the reason? Any suggestion? Oh, one still said advertisement. Of course, in the short term, I think advertisement, but I do think there must have some reason. Okay, one say because someone believe the price will continue to go up. While similar in the Hong Kong housing price, so that if there's some very precious this kind of virtual land, the price of virtual land will continue to rise. People will try to buy and then make money. So that's a real business issue. But you can see why. So that of course Hong Kong also have some. I just show you. One still say people want to buy something in those kind of virtual, this kind of thing for game, video game. I do think that like for Tencent have some special video game, and then one day they can make $100 million. This is quite amazing, right? Video game is a big business, right? So that in the virtual world you have a video game, and then people want to buy something to play some game. NFT is also something, and also of course I don't know if you look at I just add some additional things for overview about this thing, so that you're surprised. Now Hong Kong, there's one this kind of developer try to build this kind of the world first cryptocurrency city. It's a Nakamoto Island, so that what do you think? Why this company in Hong Kong want to build this kind of special island? In this city they use all the cryptocurrency. I think it's quite amazing to see that Hong Kong has this interesting development. Not only build those typical house and building, but also have this kind of advanced, this kind of the city. Why? And with all using this kind of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and other kind of thing, virtual currency. I thought this is something. If company build this one, for sure they're going to make money for sure, not just something. Okay, it is something quite interesting. Anyway, I just show you. Even you don't have a virtual VR headset, you can still try to link in the smartphone this kind of app. Why? Although that kind of smartphone, this kind of VR AR may not be impressive right? If you have the VR, AR, MR headset, you can have what? More 3D immersive experience, right? You can see the almost a three-dimensional, this kind of a wall, right? In virtual display, right? So that this kind of experience still, I don't think the smartphone can give you kind of immersive experience. Okay, so that's it. But anyway, so this is something it's worthwhile. One student said poor people cannot use cryptocurrency in Hong Kong. What's the reason? Huh? One student said, why there's a student say, huh? I don't believe. One student say, you can try to get some cryptocurrency. Why you say $8 million to trade then? Really? There's a new regulation? Wow, I don't know. This is a new regulation. To mention so that I do have some Bitcoin. I bought last year. So that is that the new regulation? Huh? I just want to know. It's at least I bought some this kind of Bitcoin last year. Okay, so that in 2002 I do like last year, and then so that is that new regulation so that poor people in Hong Kong cannot buy. I don't know this kind of new policy. I don't think there's some regulations so that Hong Kong impose that you cannot buy this kind of cryptocurrency. I don't think this is true. If you find a new law from Hong Kong government, please let me know. A student, our two mentor, if you find some official law passed from electrical, I do want to see. But at least I bought some this kind of Bitcoin last year. Is still okay. I do think it's okay. Oh, anyway, I understand that maybe there's some, but of course, in Hong Kong, if you cannot buy in Hong Kong, maybe you try to buy, maybe go to some those website in not in Hong Kong, right? Maybe in United States, the other country to allow you to buy some of the cryptocurrency. Personally, I think in Hong Kong still you may want to go beyond Hong Kong, this kind of a website, right? Doing that to do something to buy the cryptocurrency. Yeah. Anyway, I do think still Hong Kong do have some freedom to buy this kind of cryptocurrency. Of course, we do have some ATM machine. I don't know if you know that Hong Kong do have several ATM machine you can buy Bitcoin. But I don't know, maybe suddenly Hong Kong government changed the law. But at least I do think there's always some way to buy this kind of cryptocurrency. Of course, okay. And anyway, so that so here I show you this is a very big business, right? So that VR, AR, and so that there's many different application VR, AR, MR. So for gaming, definitely is a huge business, right? And this kind of virtual tourism. Now COVID-19, a lot of people in Hong Kong cannot travel outside Hong Kong, so that why not we try to do some virtual tours to other countries using the VR, MR. So I can see COVID-19, this kind of a thing become quite important, right? And also big data and also social networking. And if you have a Facebook, this kind of a VR headset, you can find that's a new app can try to do this kind of VR. So never beyond those Facebook or something, right? And also this kind of a building, architecture modeling and design. I will show you some example and marketing and many things. So anyway, so that the VR, AR, MR will continue to grow for sure. Right here, I just show you particular one. So how this kind of VR, AR, MR can be important for our building engineering, architecture engineering construction, right? So that you may want to look at this, the talk by the CEO of this company, Kalloc. In United States, I do know that also a branch in Hong Kong. Okay, so that how this kind of VR can be important for building engineering. So that that's something is quite important. Of course, here I show you a little more. Right? Basically, again, the more important thing is you need to understand what's the current technology of this kind of VR headset. Definitely, this kind of VR AR okay, but it's not perfect. Or one student say what is different between VR AR and MR. I will try to explain. I will explain later. Explain the difference. VR, AR, and MR later. Okay, I will explain this one. There's one slide to talk about the difference. Okay, so that this is something. Yeah, you're right. It's important. You understand. Anyway, so that at this moment, I will say some of this VR AR will some good performance. That's why the Facebook acquired this kind of small start company. Oculus is a small company founded by one American guy who liked this kind of video game. Now, for seeing this kind of founder is a little kid really like this kind of VR video game, and he is not happy about those commercial product. That's why this Oculus founder and CEO tried to develop his own VR to make more professional gaming. So that then this company was acquired by Facebook for, in the first slide, how much? About at least $1 billion, $2 billion. So that this is something definitely VR, AR, MR create a big opportunity to make big money. Okay, so that something is quite important. So that this is thing. Okay, and then of course again, so this kind advanced VR now require a lot of this kind of devices. Not only this have sensor, but also memory, display, AI, and also display many things to put together on this kind of VR AR or this kind of headset. So it's something quite important. Of course, now the most important thing probably now is you need to have very advanced this kind of semiconductor chip. Why? For sensor, AI, and even for the kind of display. Do you understand? So this kind of thing is quite important, right? Do you understand? So this is just that we know that there's a lot more. This thing, the advanced is just like smartphone. We mentioned in previous lecture. Smartphone has advanced semiconductor process like TSMC 5nm for new iPhone, right? New Mac processor, CPU, and then the sensing in the near future. All this kind of VR AR headset need advanced semiconductor technology to enable this kind of good thing, right? So this is something become quite important, right? And of course, the key thing here is smartphone is good, but smartphone doesn't have this kind of we call that immersive experience, huh? This smartphone is good, but unfortunately, why our human, as I showed, we want to look at more immersing virtual world, right? 3-dimensional, this kind of virtual world or 3D internet. I would say there's another name. People say maybe 3D, this kind of virtual internet, 3D virtual world, right? Virtual, this kind of world they can display. So this is something. Smartphone is okay, why? 2D, 2-dimensional display. But you can see if you have tried to use this kind of good Facebook, this kind of VR headset, you will see that's a huge difference. Huh? If you create some 3D virtual display, now and also 3D this kind of sound, right? There's audio, video, and then that kind of experience is amazing. I told you it's totally. That's why I want you to look at that video on YouTube, right? So that those actor actresses for this Star Trek, so that you can look at their expression when they use this kind of Facebook VR. Then they found, wow, this is something. Finally, performance of VR become gradually mature. I still remember 7 years ago I tried to use HTC VR headset. Sometimes I feel headache because the semiconductor technology not fast enough, so that they cannot process this kind of thing, and there's some latency delay, so you feel the headache. Do you understand? So that this kind of advanced VR need to have advanced semiconductor technology to make the advanced thing. And again, how can we create this kind of a real, strong, this kind of immersive experience, right? And with this kind of multi-sensory, right? At least visually, with your eye, with audio, right? This kind of visual sensation and audio thing, and then maybe some touch, right? In the near future, I would say, VR, AR, MR, we may need additional this kind of sensor actuator, generate something, stimulate your maybe you can smell something and test, right? Tactile, so that how in the virtual world we can create this kind of virtual sensation. Not only the visual sense, visual, right, audio, but other thing is important. Okay, it's important, but it still take time to develop this kind of technology. Okay, and of course we have a much more advanced this kind of a simulated sensor and microphone, MEMS microphone and display. Right? We have a organic LED OLED display. It's okay for smartphone, but for VR, probably still has some limitation. Okay, so that's why all the big companies develop VR AR. We need to advance even better this kind of organic LED display using smartphone. So that's still big company, technology company try to put a huge amount of money for this kind of display for VR, AR, MR. Okay, so that again, so that if you want to create VR reality, so first is we understand how this kind of human sensation, why you visually you see with your eye, why as I show you in our previous lecture, your eye is like our camera, simple image sensor, why, and your ear is our MEMS microphone, and of course, unfortunately, we don't have this guy and this guy there, but we have this, gradually this one, touch sensor and tactile sensation. So these are to be developed in the near future. Okay, so that is very hard. Human has very, very advanced this kind of sensation for smelling, and this one is still difficult. Of course, I have my PhD student and my lab developed this kind of advanced CMOS biosensor. CMOS, this kind of ISFAT, ion sensitivity transistor sensor, detect a series of ion molecules, right, for biosensing. So that I do think this may be important in the near future. How use advanced semiconductor sensor to create artificial sensation for these two missing parts. Why do you say? And maybe all this one. So this one is very mature now. Okay, similar sensor here, but this one still under development. That's why. But I would say in the near future, gradually, we will see people will in the industry will continue to expand VR, AR beyond these two parts. Why you see our all the VR headset have these two, but not some VR AI have this one, but not every, and this one definitely is much less here. But it's difficult. It's very difficult. Well, that's why we need to have do research, engineer do research thing. If we can overcome this one, then those who invent this kind of a low cost, this kind of sensor for this thing, we're going to super rich for the VR, AR, MR, this kind of a product in the near future. This is something you say for simple image sensor, it's one of the biggest market at this moment for all the sensor, right? So that you will see how big is the market for single image sensor. Okay, so it's huge market. Why it's not I think for this single image sensor for this one is this 10 billion or $100 billion business. And then microphone is big business, so that any of this kind of sensor relate to the VR will have a huge business for sure. Okay, so that's something I hope all of you understand the potential of this thing. Why? Yeah, and then of course here again we want to see how can we make this kind of to simulate the reality. Right? Before we go to VR, we need to reality. How can we describe this kind of reality? Right? This is the thing. So that the reality, we can simulate reality. That's why we got virtual reality. Right? It's not real. It's virtual. it's fake one. But the human brain can see close to the real. So that's something is important for all of you to think about this thing, right? And then through all the sensation, right? Conscious and action, so that this is a typical way of human, right? All the maybe animal that try to do this thing, right? So that all this animal, not only human, they have this kind of sensation and create some consciousness in the brain and action, right? So that in order to duplicate, right, to create a fake reality, a virtual reality, so that we need to think about this thing. So that in this case, we need to have one. You see, now that's why I emphasize we have talked about this kind of a sensor, of course, micro sensor. If sensor too big, they can become wearable, VR, AR, MR headset, right? And then conscious, this one, we need to advance CPU and or processor and also AI chip, right? Edge computing chip, and extreme means we are man's actuator, right? So that's something. And then in this case, if we have this one, then we try to use this kind of sensor actuator and this kind of CPU, GPU, or NPU like AI, right? Thing unit, right? And then so here to duplicate this kind of thing become the virtual reality. So this is something I would say quite important, right? So that here you can also look at this thing, right? So beyond this kind of thing, audio visual, so that how can we create this kind of more realistic thing, so that this give you some interesting way. This company in Switzerland try to using VR goggle with actuator, right? So that there's some electric fan and haptic, right? So that they can try to create illusion of you fly like a bird, right? So this is beyond, that's why beyond audio visual, right? You have simulating sensor and your microphone, right? So, and also this kind of a good 3D display, virtual reality display, and then how you create additional this kind of actuator, so that you can create this kind of interesting sensation, right, for this thing. So that is something that's quite important. I think you may want to look at this video because if I add this video, maybe I don't know, sometime YouTube will block thing. Maybe still I try to quickly look at the you look at this also quite interesting. I will not play too much, but it is it'll be interesting for you to look at this interesting thing beyond audio and videos thing, right? So this is also motion, right? There's some motor to do simulation. Maybe you want to try this kind of thing for fun. Well, this is interesting for you to think about, right? To say, how can we how can we make this kind of virtual world, virtual sensation? So you are a human and we looks like a bird flying. This is something I would say quite interesting, right? Visual, audio, and then wind and haptic, right? So see, like this is interesting for all of you, right? Again, so that in order to create this kind of virtual, immersive, this kind of 3D, this kind of display, so that first we understand how good is our human eye to see the real 3-dimensional, this kind of world, so that a human eye is very advanced. Okay, they can see the field of view. They can see very wide field of view. Okay, and then so that that is something quite important. You can see 135 degrees vertically, and then see horizontally the field of view. Well, I think it's 210 degrees. Okay, so that this is something. Do you say it gives you some idea how difficult now engineer we need to spend a lot of time to improve this kind of 3D display in the wearable VR AR. So I told you it's not easy. That's why a lot of money, many big companies put huge amount of money to make advanced 3D display for VR AR MR. So it's not small money. It is $1 billion in several big companies. Okay, and this is something you should understand. Like Apple, it is actually I have one UCLA lab mate who start a company to make this kind of micro LED display for this VR headset, and then several years ago acquired by Apple. Do you understand? So that if you are very good to develop this kind of anything, this kind of important component for VR AR, and then you can be super rich. I told you one of my UCLA lab mate, actually he actually had a company in Silicon Valley in Taiwan, and then his company was acquired by Apple. Okay, it's called the LuxView, not LuxView. This is one of my UCLA lab mate's company. Okay, in Silicon Valley and in Silicon Valley, okay, in Taiwan, in United States, and Taiwan, and then so that acquired by Apple. Okay. So do you know how much Apple acquired this my UCLA friend's company for this kind of VR? How much? This is something I'll tell you. The real business issue. Why, if you're very good to do this thing, I really see my UCLA friend become super rich. How much Apple acquired this last view? Chun Hei says 7 million. No, too small. Too small. But anyway, you can look at right. It's not one. It is until the $100 million. Okay, until the $100 million. You can look at those things. Last view is once Apple acquired the company, then because Apple is a public company, so the last view is actually there's a way you can find Google something to find how much Apple pay to buy this kind of serial company. Right? It's not open thing you can find, but it's not $1 million, 7 million. Chun Hei, you are underestimate this kind of semiconductor, this kind of stock company. $7 million, definitely you cannot make a real business in this advanced semiconductor stock company. That's why Professor George Yan, why the PhD student got $100 million for advanced NIC chip. $10 million is too small to make a realistic kind of semiconductor or this display or micro LED. So it is, I would say, $100 million. Okay, so you're able to make a reasonable research for to supply this kind of device for Apple. Okay, so that's something. It's non-trivial. Okay, I just tell you. Oh, that's why this it gives you some real sense about thing. You understand the problem of typical display in smartphone and how to improve, right? Improve this kind of display technology beyond organic LED, where it can bring what make you super rich. Okay, so that anyway, I just tell you thing, and then of course again, I will not show you all the detail, but again, it's still difficult. It's still difficult. If you look at the this kind of detail resolution, human eye is so good, so good, and then so that in terms of all the important thing, as I show you, is still difficult for our current technology company to make a very good this kind of duplicate human visual system. At this moment, still not possible. Still not possible. Okay, so here I show you why. Now let's do the comparison. Why it's still difficult, and why also big company put a lot of money, $1 billion, to do this thing. Why? So that the HTC now have this kind of performance, right? And then, but between our current product and real human eye resolution, still, what's the difference? All the main difference, huh? All the main difference. Do you see? You see this. Look at this thing, man. You see that's why those big companies put $1 billion, to gradually want to make a good VR, AR, MR headset. So it's something. It's not easy, but it's a big business, right? If you don't believe me, you look at how Facebook founder and CEO talk about now VR is next generation of computing platform beyond smartphone, right? So believe in the billionaire, Facebook's founder, right? He really clear say that the VR is next generation of platform beyond smartphone, right? So that's something. That's why they put $1 billion for this development VR, AR, MR. Okay, so that's something is important. And then again for audio, the same thing. Our human this kind of ear, it's very very good. Why? Typically the frequency we can hear our sound, right? 20 to about 20 kilohertz, something here, right? And this kind of dynamic range, right? Sound pressure dynamic range, right? This kind of how big it can sound is quite advanced. I told you, so that typically, as I tell you, is that's why it's important how can we create this kind of a more 3D audio, right? Stereo audio, stereo sound, right? So that is also quite important thing. And then sound localization is also quite important. If we want to have more 3D this kind of sound experience, then we need to think about how we have maybe use maybe more than one loudspeaker, right? Loudspeaker, of course, in our computer, loudspeaker is big, right? Smartphone loudspeaker is a micro loudspeaker, right? Of course, how you can use this kind of micro machine technology to make this kind of more portable and compact, this kind of a speaker, right? And so that make this kind of 3D sound is quite important. I have also a friend in Silicon Valley, X-Men's. They actually make this kind of men's micro machine based speaker for this kind of smartphone VR AR. So that this is something I told you. Sensor is important. Actuator is also important for thing, right? So that let me quickly show you. So that this company X-Men's, and they make this kind of advanced speaker. Okay, so that this is something one of my friends' company, okay, in Silicon Valley. So that they make this. They say almost the first this kind of micro machine speaker. Okay, so that make a must. I do believe this is important for VR, AR, MR, this kind of headset. So this is something I told you. This I should that they actually try to sell this kind of you see the performance is quite important, right? With this frequency range, and then so that they use piezoelectric this kind of actuator, right? So to make thing piezo technology for their thing, so that to again in order to create 3D sound, right? 3-dimensional sound, you may need to have more than 1 or 2 or array of this kind of micro machine and this kind of actuator, speaker, and then generate this kind of 3D sound. So similar to the kind of Amazon Alexa, or that in China with Xiaomi, so that they have array of this kind of microphone chip, right? The same thing. We have 3D sound. We also array of micro machine, this kind of speaker, right? I think this is important. Okay, and then touch. Oh, that's also quite important and difficult. Touch sensation. Of course, your smartphone do have this kind of touch sensor array, but compared with the real human, it cut no. This kind of sensation still is take time to make more advanced this one. So that of course another thing is haptic sensation. It's something quite complicated behavior. But of course, Apple's iPhone do have this kind of haptic feedback. I don't know. Do you know how Apple created kind of haptic feedback in your iPhone? Any idea? Do you have iPhone? How Apple created this kind of iPhone have this kind of haptic feedback? Do you know? Do you have iPhone? Or do you know how this kind of smartphone have this haptic feedback? Or one student say, very good. So there's some special kind of very small motor, very small motor have vibration, and then so that your iPhone and smartphone have this kind of thing, so that then to create the kind of haptic feedback, so that this is something is important for this kind of haptic sensation. Okay, so that that's why I told you our micro sensor and actuator is important for this kind of haptic sensation, and then anyway, so that again our human this kind of sensation actually on our skin, and people say skin is a very large organ, right, and very complicated 3-dimensional this kind of multi-layer, and then for very complicated this kind of organ, and then so that again for us we want to think about how we can really create the virtual sensation, right? So this is something gradually this too is much more easier, and people also you can see this one is also getting more thing, and then of course we have additional actuator, right, and to create the virtual reality world, right? And again, so that VR, AR, MR will create much bigger business, so sure. And there's a explosion VR, AR, MR, or Metaverse, so that then this is quite important for you to think about this thing, so that hope. Okay, so now one student asked, what's different between VR, AR, and MR now? So that so this slide give you some basic this kind of definition about the three kind of technology. So the first, basically VR is what VR. Basically, VR is a way our human like you use some VR headset, right, to generate this kind of a more realistic kind of image, a video, 3D image, 3D video, and 3D sound, or other kind of sensation to create some kind of duplicate, right? Duplicate this kind of real reality or real environment dimension. So that's why this kind of Facebook Oculus, I just show you over in the first introduction video on YouTube, and also Oculus one thing. And AR basically is something you have AR in your smartphone, like a Google Map have AR. So basically, they try to what in the real world, you try to AR means augmentation, right? You superimpose some virtual image of virtual video on the real world, right? When I don't know if you have ever tried to play with this kind of Google Map, the AR function. Huh? Did you use this kind of Google Maps, this kind of AR function in your smartphone? And anyone you have ever tried to use Google Maps AR function? So that again, this is immersive. That means when you turn on this kind of Google Map, right? Then so that once you enable that kind of VR AR function, and then they will use what? They will use this kind of camera, CMOS sensor or your smartphone, right? To continue to record this kind of video, understand your environment, and then try to fusion of this kind of video, right? From the camera, CMOS sensor with the Google Maps data. They will try to give this kind of additional information for guide navigation, right? Do you understand? So that is something is quite, I think at least all of you should be able to play with this kind of function, AR function. Of course, this is something will be not as immersive experience, do you understand? One student say this and Google Map, the AR function is not working well in Hong Kong. One student, two men, I don't know why you think this is not very good. There's one student say the Google Map AR function is not very good. What's the reason? At least from my experience, it's okay. From my view, with because Google Map uses GPS, right, and also man's motion sensor with or similar image sensor, so that I think all these things take time to improve, right? They have to continue to get all the data on the street map and also this kind of pictures and image, so that in this case, with this kind of good data for Google Map, not only the map, right, but also those kind of video and pictures, so that they can really try to recognize that particular location, and then try to combine this kind of video information with Google Maps data, map data. Then they can try to give you the kind of navigation guideline, right? So I can see it should be reasonable. Of course, sometimes Hong Kong in downtown area, there are many tall buildings. Maybe it can block the GPS, so that then is sometimes maybe it's not good for every location in Hong Kong for sure. I can see this thing. Okay, and then next one is the MR. MR, one of this important this kind of a product is from Microsoft HoloLens. Actually, HoloLens 2 now, the new version HoloLens 2. But basically, is a mix, right? Mix this kind of virtual world and real world, and then they have some interaction. Do you understand? So that between VR AR, so basically is the HoloLens 2 basically is this kind of now actually we should call 2 now, the new generation. So this is something as I think it's quite interesting, especially COVID-19. So that HoloLens 2 become quite important. If you look at the YouTube, right, how the Microsoft HoloLens 2 introduced this kind of HoloLens 2, so that they can really useful, especially in HoloLens in this kind of COVID-19, so that sometimes we engineer cannot travel from one country to another country, so that how, for example, like semiconductor, this kind of machine, like manufacturing company can now send engineer maybe to TSMC to do installation of the machine, so that actually those big company try to use HoloLens to for what? To help local engineer to install machine for semiconductor this kind of manufacturing plan. Do you understand? So this become quite important, useful. Of course, HoloLens too for sure will be important, useful for education and for medical field. Why? Can we create some virtual this kind of object for you to design the building, design the car, design many product? Why? And this is something I think quite important. Yeah. One student say you're right. HoloLens 2. One student also mentioned. Chairman also mentioned, so that the potential application of HoloLens, VR, and MR, I think quite important for medical doctor. Why? To do the kind of virtual surgery before you do a real surgery on real human body. The doctor need to get trained, but if the doctor have no chance to get the trained, then maybe dangerous to operate, to do a real surgery. So there's some big issue. That's why I think this kind of VR technology, MR technology like HoloLens 2 is important to train this kind of medical doctor do the surgery. This is something quite important. Also, I do think it's important for not only for this, but also for engineer. For example, in the near future, how this kind of MR, this kind of system, why can be used to train those kind of engineer to design the building. Why do you think this design the building, design the car, so that these are quite important and useful? Why? Before you spend big money to have a real building, can we try to use this kind of MR system to train engineer? I do think it's quite important. Of course, in the following this kind of talk, we will show you about those big company. They really create a platform. Why? In the this kind of GPU company, Nvidia has their platform for engineer to design, using this kind of thing to design a series of product, design the building, design the car thing. So that's something we'll show you why very soon. Okay. Anyway, so again, just similar. If you look at this, I still know. Do you still remember? We watch this kind of the richest guy in Japan, SoftBank founder and CEO, Masayoshi-san, so that he just talk about this kind of a sensor for IoT, so that there's a Cambian explosion. Why? So that all the system, why? Smartphone, Smart X, once you have sensor with AI, so that IoT system, then in this case, you're going to have this kind of a lot more business, make big money, so that Google Glass, Oculus, and then also this kind of Magic Leap and Microsoft HoloLens, all this has a big feature. Okay, and HoloLens 2 also not only for consumer electronics. Actually, if you look at last year, Microsoft got a 10-year project for military project. HoloLens can also be important for military training. Okay, if you look at things, I think they probably got $100 million or even more for this military project. HoloLens 2, VR, AR, MR is important for military application-wise, so that before now, this kind of soldier we send to have real war. How can we use VR, AR have to train the soldier to fighting? All right. Of course, you can. In Hong Kong, we do have this kind of. I don't know if you go to some of this kind of play some game. Hong Kong do have some thing sandbox. I don't know if you have any try to do in Hong Kong. We have a sandbox VR so that you may want to play some VR game with your friend, classmate, so that this is interesting. Not a real world, but something. This is a sandbox. This kind of VR, so that if you at least I think the founder is in Hong Kong, and then they gradually have this kind. They got big funding to create this kind of interesting game, VR game. So you may want to play this kind of VR game with your friend, classmate, in this thing. So the founder is in Hong Kong and in United States. They got the big money, so to expand, not only have this kind of, like you guys like to play game, right? But not all the computer game. How can we VR for more realistic gaming, so that the sandbox you may want to try? Have you ever tried to play this kind of thing? Hey, this can be a lot of fun for you to play, If you say too expensive to buy the VR AR MR, maybe try to go this sandbox in Jinsha to play with a friend VR game together. It's I can see it's a quite interesting experience. So that if you chance, if you say too expensive to buy your own, then why not spend $700? I don't think it's super expensive, right? So that you can see that they do have the kind of game, VR game. Go to this kind of this sandbox in Jinsha and to see if you want to play this kind of game. Hopefully now this month the government going to release social distance, and this will be open for all of you to play together. It will be interesting experience, right? To look, I would say it's an interesting experience to, as if for this particular lecture, right? And of course, as I mentioned, one big problem of this kind of a product now is the kind of it's still a big issue, right? In terms of our 3D display, resolution still older magnitude compared with now it's not good as compared with human eye, right? Latency, the delay, right? If the processor or CPU or VR AR is not fast enough, if don't use TSMC 5 nanometer, 3 nanometer, then the latency, then you could do some problem. Okay, so problem for this kind of dizziness and nausea. So this is something is important. That's why this kind of VR AR need to use advanced TSMC technology, 3 nanometer. I think 3 nanometer will be in mass production this year. So that it happened, I got in touch with Vice President of R&D for 3 nanometer technology, so that in Taiwan, so that really try to push 3 nanometer in mass production. So I do think it's important for VR AR MR, okay? And then of course, how can we create this kind of more, this kind of important, this kind of thing, right? This is quite important. You need to think about the what's the problem, right, for this thing, and again, so there's of course, if you say too expensive for this kind of Facebook or Oculus, this one I still have some low cost one, Google Cardboard. It may be not as good as this kind of thing. Again, for those of you, if you have never seen, you can borrow from me, okay? So that but of course, if you want to buy, for yourself, I think probably you still can buy low cost one, the kind of cardboard VR headset. But of course, it's not as good. Okay, one student mentioned, right? Two men say, Google Cardboard, no, it's not advanced enough, so you get dizzy. So that something I don't say. That's why the score difference. You say you can have some simple experience, but unfortunately, price determine the performance, right? You cannot expect this kind of low cost, $6 to $20 thing can be compete with this kind of expensive, right? The one I bought is about almost 4,000, 5,000 that time, Hong Kong dollar, right? So that you cannot, it cannot compete, right? The cost really have a big difference. But anyway, you can try to look sandbox. Okay, this kind of video VR this game in Jinsazui to experience more professional this kind of VR AR this kind of game. I do think it would be still quite different. Why? And again, so that this thing is it seems people still want to get experience, but if it not can afford very expensive one, then this you see, so that suddenly once Google have local one, so that you see in 1 week have a million or so. Right? I do think that from Alibaba, this kind of online platform Taobao, you can also buy some local one from Taobao.com. So that I do think this kind of thing is probably you can find this there's some product available make in Shenzhen, make to Hong Kong. So that I do think there's some locals headset. So that do you say VR headset? I do. It's something gradually. I for sure people will be interesting to make this thing. Okay, so that I just quickly go to this thing. It seems that do have some low cost one on this thing. You see, Hong Kong dollars 37. I don't know how good it's here, but you can see between the different kind of price. Right, from this kind of Alibaba, this kind of website, so that the Oculus, oh, this one for 2,000. Okay, so that the price has a huge difference, I would say. But again, if not, if you cannot afford, try to contact me, borrow my Facebook, this kind of Oculus Quest, for maybe 10 minutes, no problem. Okay, and again, so that I can see there's a continue people will be interesting to experience VR, AR, MR for sure. Why? Again, so this kind of thing is not new. Again, 30 years ago, people has come with things, but it's quite expensive and the cost 30 years ago. Oh, some students already make comment. Hui Wat Kun has 40 VR headset, but I do understand. Anyway, if some of you really want to try something more professional, you can borrow from me. But make sure that you are okay, right? So this I think we're still online teaching, so that we need to follow this kind of thing, so that if some of you really want to try more professional one, this kind of Oculus from I bought from Facebook, this thing, so that again, I don't mind you try to contact me and then try 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to play some for example, NASA's International Space Station. Oh, that experience is quite amazing. Okay, it's something Star Trek. I also bought Star Trek, this kind of app for my VR headset. So that again, if you want, try to contact me, so that I don't mind. But make sure that you're okay. You didn't carry the COVID-19 virus. But my lab have this kind of a new this kind of plasmonic PCR chip, so that 5 minutes I can detect this kind of COVID-19. Okay, I do have also anti-virus air purifier now for my lab, so that I do have all this kind of control about this kind of virus. And okay, anyway, so that again, there's a series of this kind of way, right, for VR AR, so that you need to think about how to measure human body dynamics, right? Check the human body dynamic with some motion sensor, or this is one kind of electromagnetic checking this kind of head, right? For this kind of old, this is a very old motion checking. Most likely like Facebook, this kind of VR, Oculus, they use MEMS technology. So this is something I would say very old technology, and then so that but anyway, so this give you some idea about this thing. So that definitely, I have one student work on this micro machine, this kind of a magnetic sensor. This may be quite important for my PhD student to think about is a micro machine or CMOS band magnetic sensor for the VR AR this kind of application. So and anyway, so that of course beyond this kind of VR AR product, there's also a series of app, smartphone app, VR app, right? So that you may want to look at maybe download this kind of app for your smartphone, right? Of course, if you can try VR AR, this kind of headset, that experience is quite amazing. I told you it's something before I use VR AR those things in smartphone, and after I use this kind of professional one, Facebook this product, I can see it's a huge difference. Okay, and of course there's a long list of different product by iOS app, so that you can see a lot of this kind of interesting application. And what YouTube have a VR channel, so that if you try to use kind of professional VR headset to look at YouTube VR channel, wow, that experience is amazing. That's why I highly recommend you give a try. Look at the kind of real VR AR, the kind of headset is very, very amazing. Why? So that it's quite amazing. Anyway, so that it's quite impressive to look at YouTube VR channel. Okay, and that's a very interesting the kind of application, and a lot of fun, and especially COVID-19, so you cannot travel too much at home, so that if you use VR thing to go to the virtual world, right? Virtual tourism, right? So that something I think is an interesting experience. Yeah, and again, Google has a series of this kind of product, Google Map, Google Street View, right? So all these are, I think, quite interesting and useful. Yeah, and again, Google have this additional this kind of VR headset, right? Beyond that, very low end one, and then so that typically again that you need advanced display, organic LED display, right? And again, also you have very good sound sensor doing that. So this Oculus Rift is first generation, right, of this kind of thing from we say the Facebook Oculus, right? And then of course, if you look inside, it really has very complicated this kind of motion sensor, MCU, and display and things doing that. So these are quite important for you to understand about the thing. And then so that Oculus also has a series of mains motion sensor, accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetic sensor, proximity sensor. Why? And then so that the HTC also have advanced HTC Pro has a 70 sensor. Okay, that is something quite amazing. I see. And so again, I just tell you that all this kind of advanced one has very sophisticated this kind of sensor, display, and sophisticated processor, right? Or CPU or GPU, right? You see, HTC, this kind of VR, they have advanced this kind of processor from Nvidia, right? And Oculus also need use a very advanced this kind of processor, GPU, and plus maybe I'm pretty sure in the near future, all the kind of VR AR will use not only CPU, GPU, and NPU AI, right, to really process large number of this kind of big data from all the sensor, right, and then to show display in this kind of 3D video and 3D this kind of sound. Do you understand? So this is something quite important. Again, so there's a here I just give you a list of different kind of VR headset, right? From Oculus, the first generation, Oculus Rift, HTC, PlayStation, and more. Actually, there's a lot more. Actually, you can see there's a huge. I would say lots more. They kind of have from low end to high end. Okay. Still, I still want to see how many percentage our student really play this kind of VR AR before? Huh? No, still very few. How many percent of people like you? Maybe I do some simple this kind of poll, right? So that it's quite interesting to did you play this kind of VR AR before? Let me quickly try to do some polling to see. It's important and interesting for me to understand about if you have real experience or not. I just said this kind of polling for all of you. Can you quickly launch one? 1 minute? I want to see. Okay, how many? So still, I would say, you can see it's about 25% of our students try to play this kind of VR AR. I see. But it would be quite important for all of you to now. Once you say anyone use Oculus Quest 2, yeah, this is the new generation. The one I have is an old generation. Definitely is a much compact. Yeah. Now, okay, about I would say 25% of this thing. Okay, now I understand about this thing. I understand about this thing. It's important for at least for me to understand this thing. Why? If experience, then I think your idea about this kind of VR AR will be very different. I would say. Again, about 1 year ago, I decided to really give a try and to buy to really understand the difference between the smartphone, this kind of thing, and this kind of Facebook thing. I can see is a huge difference. It's a huge difference. Right? It's not small difference. It's a huge difference. I say. Anyway, so of course, beyond VR, we also have AR. Right? Smart glass. So this is something is quite amazing. Magic Leap, why HoloLens 2. Okay, so I would say from my point of view, I think this should be, we could call this one become like MR. They really try to, it's not only AR, I think it become MR with some kind of interaction. Okay, so that from my point of view, HoloLens 2 is really become the MR. HoloLens 2 it become MR. So because they have really tried to interact, right, between the real physical world and virtual world interaction. So this is something is quite important for COVID-19, I would say. Yeah. And anyway, I will show you this is something low cost one, and then we have more explained. Of course, there's another quite interesting thing is in actually many years ago, actually people also cave, right? Cave is some kind of virtual reality, this kind of system, right? And with multi-wall serial projection environment, and it turns out our Hong Kong Museum of Science, right? Hong Kong Science Museum do have a cave system. Huh? If you don't want to spend money, why not just go to Hong Kong Science Museum and to look at this kind of a cave? Right? It's something quite interesting for you to understand the thing. And then, of course, we do have this kind of a series of this kind of cave, virtual assistant, and then actually Hong Kong also have some additional this kind of company provide this kind of VR thing. So this so I just tell you, if you cannot afford, at least you look at go to this kind of Hong Kong, this kind of museum, science museum to look at VR, right? And of course, I can see this kind of case can be virtual reality system can be very good for this kind of business, right? Demonstration, right? That's something for education also in this Hong Kong Science Museum. right? And those caterpillar also damage some new technology, right? It's a very big company in the United States for this kind of truck, okay? And of course, beyond this kind of thing, consumer, there's also have some additional this kind of thing for vehicle simulation, right? So that to do the training for the pilot, for airplane pilot, is quite important, right? And like Boeing, this kind of, for sure, they do have to have this kind of good simulator to train this kind of pilot, right? This is something quite important. I think, okay, so that we're almost run out of time. I don't know if you have any additional question, comment. One student also mentioned you don't have to computer plus run it. Anyway, I do think this kind of VR, AR, and MR is quite important. So that if you chance, you are welcome to try to look at this kind of thing. I do think this is a quite important technology for in the near future. So that if you chance, I do think I would do welcome of you to give a try, right? Try borrow from Facebook VR. Oh, go to Hong Kong Science Museum or go to Sandbox to play some game. This is really interesting for all of you to experience. Okay, if any other question, please ask question.